if the president has said that he was going to give haircut on external debt or dollar-denominated bonds, that would have been chaotic. Okay. So for that one, it's clear, and that's why we are seeing the market respond. Okay. Now, the other issue now is domestic. Don't forget, Mahama also said that the restructuring should not disadvantage domestic
as compared to external investors.
Now, so what has to happen is we must get clarity from the committee on what recommendations they made. Mind you, the committee is made up of people from various institutions which are players in the market. All right. Now, one of the things that has come up is the announcement the SEC made. I don't know if you have that announcement. There was an announcement the SEC made last week or something. Yes, they sent out a circular to investment banks.
Oh.
Yes. I think it was on your website.
Yeah, I think,
if you can read some highlights of it.
Directive to market operators on the use of fair value through other comprehensive income, mark-to-market valuation method in the valuation of clients' investments of assets and securities and portfolios in the securities sector. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, hereinafter referred to as SEC, is the statutory body mandated by the Securities Industry Act, as amended by the Securities Industry Amendment Act, to promote the orderly growth and development of an efficient, fair, and transparent securities market in which investors and the integrity of the market are protected. SEC also has a mandate to maintain surveillance over activities in securities to ensure orderly, fair, and equitable dealings in securities and to protect the integrity of the markets. Now, pursuant to sections 157 and 197 of the Act, the SEC hereby reminds all fund managers, investment advisors, custodians, broker-dealers, and trustees of collective investment schemes to ensure that all audited accounts are prepared in accordance with internationally accepted accounting standards adopted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Jump to 2.
Yeah, okay, that's two. SEC further directs fund managers, investment advisors, custodians, broker-dealers, and trustees to report any contingent liabilities. The SEC has taken note of the current high interest rate environment in Ghana with its adverse effects on liquidity in the secondary market for bonds and high client redemption requests, necessitating the sale of investment securities ordinarily designated as held to maturity. So people want to cash in early.
Why are people requesting to cash in? Because they were told
heard
there will be a haircut.
Yes.
Through whatever means. Go ahead.
So people were supposed to wait till their investments mature, but now they want to cash in early. Now,
and some did cash in early.
Some did cash in early. Yes. So, pursuant to sections blah, 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 the SEC hereby directs fund managers, custodians, and trustees to use fair value through other comprehensive income, or FVOCI, in valuing portfolios of collective investment schemes, so unit trusts and mutual funds. Now, sources of prices for valuation. Fund managers, custodians, and trustees shall obtain prices available from the Ghana Stock Exchange for listed equities, preference shares, and exchange-traded fund shares, and the Ghana fixed income market for all listed fixed income securities to enable pricing of securities reflect market values. The Ghana fixed income market shall make available end-of-day prices for all fixed income securities in 2023. In the interim, fund managers, custodians, and trustees are directed to use average prices published by GFIM to mark-to-market their fixed income securities. Unlisted securities shall be valued periodically, taking into account market movements, contractual cash flows, and recoverability of the underlying assets.
All this is long.
But
this is what's happening. So basically, this is what's happening. Goffert, you had a lot of money. So let's assume in 2015.
I received it.
He does.
2015, who was the finance minister?
Yeah.
So you have some loose 10K. So you went to one of the fund management companies and said, you're going to buy, you want to invest. So they put you in some collective investment scheme or some, you went to buy what they call like a money market instrument. So you give them the 10K and they said they'll give you 20% because the interest rate prevailing there was maybe 18. So they'll give you T-bill plus 2 after a year or whatever. Maybe, and you were sort of renewing it after every year. They call it rollover. So 2016, you get your 10,000 plus your 20%. All right. Then they keep the principal and then they keep using the interest and adding it. That's what is called the accrual or amortization method, which is what Ghana uses to price the way they do their stuff. Now, what the SEC is saying is that, before that, they said there's an inverse relationship between that 10,000 that you went to pay to the company they bought a bond for you, essentially. Now, that bond price, there's an investment between that bond price and the interest rate. So, in a low interest rate environment, the bond price is high.
Okay.
Now, when the interest rate goes up,
Then
the bond price falls.
Okay.
Good. Now, we are in a very high interest rate regime. So
it means that bond prices...
Good. So, if Ghana's interest rate has now is like 35%, now, in using the accrual method, it would have meant that your 10,000, which is your principal, will still remain 10,000. Right? Then your interest that you were getting 20% will be calculated on it. So you get your 10,000 plus 20% in the accrual method. But in the what they are now saying is that they must price that 10,000 bond they sold to you at market to the market or fair value. So that 10,000 that you paid, which is the principal that you give them, it's, if you look at the interest rate that is prevailing, the value of that 10,000 is probably 6,000 today.
Okay.
So they will say that even though you give me 10,000, in today's money, in today's interest rate environment, that your 10,000 is 6,000. It will still not affect your interest. So that your 20% you are getting on the 10,000 will calculate it for you. But the principal, that's what fair value. Good. So two things. Let me just finish this plan. So a lot of people prior to this announcement were just cashing in. But the companies are saying, no, if you cash in now, you are losing. Because now from today, 28th, what's today's date? First. In fact, so from, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, they started using fair market. So if you go and rush and take your money, that your 10,000 that you give them,
it's no longer worth 10,000.
But if you all wait and market conditions improve, interest rates start coming down, that your 10K may well be more than 10K in the future. This is the English that they are trying to speak to you. So there's another catch here. I don't even understand. Most Nigeria and most UMOA countries, they use fair value. So if you go and buy a bond in Nigeria or Senegal, you know that is what will happen. That the value of the bond will be discounted on the basis of the market value at the time that you want to redeem. But if for some reason in Ghana, the companies have always been using the accrual or the amortization method, which is why if you go and take a loan from Ghana Home Loans, they will, your $18,000 will remain $18,000 to Jesus comes as your principal, and the interest will keep accruing. And that's what they use also in selling their bonds. But SEC is saying, because market conditions are a bit confusing, so for now, I think the companies are saying people shouldn't rush out. Because if you do, you are going to actually lose. So just wait. Okay. Now that comes back to the issue of haircut. Technically, if you go and take your money now, there's a haircut. Do you understand? Because that your 10,000 that you bought your Setekwe bond is now worth 6,000 or something.
But in this case, what kind of haircut do you suffer? Is it to your principal or to your interest?
No, this one is a fair market valuation. Okay, but back to the issue of government owing, government paying. I'm sure we'll discuss it later. The issue that is very important to clarify. That committee must come out and speak with clarity on what they've recommended to government in relation to how government should handle people's money. Because it's not just banks that have borrowed from government. Pension funds and other tier 2 and 3 organizations, by law, are supposed to put about 60% of our money in government something. So if your pension is whatever name they call it, and you've paid your normal SNIT and you're giving them your extra money, the employer has paid, by law, they are supposed to buy government bonds.
Okay.
So if you are going to apply a haircut, it's going to be a problem. So if you juxtapose that what Joe Jackson is saying, that they will have to do some type of haircut, versus the fact that there are people whose livelihoods depend on that, which is why that committee, I think they've taken too long. And I think that
we've been asking.
You see, in a situation like this is not something you go and discuss in a boardroom and then you comment to somebody and say we are discussing. It's like COVID. Every week you must tell us
something.
Yes. So, in a sense, the uncertainty around these collective investment schemes has calmed down a bit because of this SEC announcement that Charlie, right now, using fair bucket. So if you run out, you're not going anywhere. So now people will cool down. But there will be a lot of concern about people's, in fact, even banks. Because, do you remember, around June, we analyzed some of the banks, June, July, when the banks released their statement. Go for it. A lot of banks, some of the banks, over 50% of their interest income is from government securities. Now, if a bank has used about 60%, is earning about 6% of its interest income from lending to government, if government doesn't pay that bank, it means the bank's capital is even impaired. So we are going to have around 2. So there's not. So the point is that these are not ordinary times. So there has to be a lot of careful communication. Okay, I know a lot of people are making just around the issue of money doesn't like noise, but I think the point is very clear that you can sabotage your own economic fortune by acting in a way that is ill-informed. All right, and which is why economic decision makers must be very clear in what they say. All right.
No, but because Bernard, that has been the one thing we've not had.
Clear
communication. And the track record is there. We could mention 5 or 6 instances where the communication has not been clear, including the seminar one we had on Sunday, which required the information minister on Monday coming on Citi Breakfast Show to clarify, and then having to make rounds the entire country. Yesterday, he was on every radio station.
It's been occasioned by a question asked.
You asked here, yes, that's what I'm saying. He ended up on every radio station in Accra clarifying that question.
Yeah, because generally that's how things happen. The president will speak.
But it should not be so.
He will speak in the big ideas, and then we will break it down. That's how it works.
No, but
otherwise, how we get work to do?
No, but we should not.
If the man speaks, usually when the president speaks, the Neta will also call Kujo.
The reason why
that's the work.
The reason why I'm sticking with that point.
If the president says everything there's nothing, the Neta will come. He gets play music.
No. This is a policy statement, basically. It's a policy statement.
I'm saying that those who are listening from the point of view of the market have responded to that. So,
rightly so.
So I'm saying that, you see, he
understand.
He was speaking to different audiences. In fact, there was some guy who was saying on Twitter that on the basis of what the president has said, anybody who has money can go and buy a government of Ghana bond now. Because in 20 years, they'll make a lot of money. He's right.
Yes.
Because people are still trading government of Ghana bonds. So the market has understood what the president has said. There will be no haircut. And it has taken pressure off the city for a brief period. Domestically, that's why we are here as media and things to also explain to people. So that they also understand that there are different kinds of haircut. The one for the international people.
But technically, most of the experts have also said that if we are doing this, there has to be parity with the external and the internal. So this situation where it looks like
foreigners are protected in a way.
It's something going for it. But
actually, we are not even clear on that. We can discuss that because
we're not clear.
Because
we are not.
That's what I'm saying. That it's two things. The IMF negotiations must proceed quickly. Then the committee must come out with very clear recommendations that is well communicated after the government accepts it. So the committee must give their recommendations to government, and government must come and say, they've given us 8 recommendations, we accepted 7. And this is the reason why I've accepted the 7, and this is what it will mean for you.
But listening yesterday, just before tech, you see, that committee was set up to discuss the potential ramifications of debt restructuring,
Yes, please.
Again, in listening yesterday to the government spokesperson, there seems to be a certain distancing from even debt restructuring.
Let's discuss after 8. You can get into your thing. Initially, when the statement was released, as Godfred read it, the man said there's no haircut, which
is nigh on impossible.
Yes. So the information minister then comes and says there will be no haircut on principal. And again, if you read the statement the president said, he said the way we handled the previous
from the banking side.
And I'm saying from that one, there were haircuts. Good. So now the information minister says there will be haircuts on principal. Sorry, on interest. And I've also added that could be the interest or the time, or both, or a combination of all two.
In fact, let me add to that. I've heard him say that it's not just, the options are many when it comes to the haircuts.
Good.
He has expanded the pool.
Yeah. So 2 things. The government must tell us what percentage of its debts it will restructure, domestic or foreign. Because it's a very important point to make. And if it will restructure, because see, there are many things. You can restructure, you can reprofile, you can refinance. There are different ways of doing this thing. So what I'm saying is that all of this is happening because the people have not proactively told us what they are doing. Because they are not trying to figure out what they are doing. So a committee is advising, and the man even, the man heading the committee, somebody who's advising the finance minister already. So they should know what they want to do, but be that as it may, they're advising the president. They're advising the finance minister. Now, the issue is they have to be clear on what they are doing before they come out. You see, so when people have been hit by economic crisis and you are going to give them a speech, you must tell them what you are doing. But if you are now thinking of what to do, and Kojo is saying there are now different options on the table, it doesn't help. But to be fair, the SEC's state, so that's one thing. So the issue of haircut, we haven't really gotten there yet because they haven't finished their discussion. But in the interim, the SEC's release that Kokui read already addresses some of the issues.
Okay.
Because you see, government owes different people. Government owes banks. Government also owes pension funds. Government owes individuals through the secondary market. All right. Now, in relation to these collective investment schemes, like the one Fidelity, EDC, and Databank and Co. manage, the SEC's directive is very clear. So, before the directive, a lot of people, when they heard that there was going to be a haircut, they were basically saying, give me my money. Even if they didn't the money, give my money now. All right. Usually you put money in those things because maybe you are facing for your child's education, you want to pay off your mortgage or something. And you know that there's a time limit or there's a specific time that you can remove the thing. Most people went to just collect their money. Now that was going to create a liquidity crisis. All right. We already, and a liquidity crisis is, there's no financial institution in the world that can withstand a run. So that lack of information and possibly what one of the institutions posted earlier to its clients led to some level of run. So in that situation, people who were collecting their money were going to get whatever they put in there at the amortized value. And you and I who were staying were going to lose. So the SEC's directive that starting from 28 October, everybody's asset must be priced using the mark-to-market means that they are trying to save those who stay and that those who go will be punished. So you can't technically say it's a haircut. It's a haircut for those who want to go out or rush out. Do you understand? So if you don't have any pressing need for your money, I don't see the point. Because as one of the things you sent me yesterday indicates, right now, if you have money, actually go and buy
Government of Ghana bonds.
Yes.
Because they say there will be no haircut.
Not even that, because the price at which it is selling now, in future, you make a lot of money. But that's not in my place to advise. But I'm just saying that for now, some people may have noticed that in trying to cash out, they will give you a breakdown of how much. Like somebody sent me their statement. They will show your deposit, your redemptions that you've done. They will go through the gains for the period, the total amortized value, which if they were using the amortization or the accrual method, you would have gained that amount. But because of the directive, they will now come to what they call the mark-to-market unit price, and then they will now discount the value of what you bought. So the value of the bond now reduces on the basis of the mark-to-market value. So if you need your money, you can go for it. But if you don't need it, and you don't want to lose, I think that's what the SEC has tried to do.
Now, on you keep mentioning the Consultative Committee on Financial Sector Stakeholder Engagement. That's the one that was put together. And the lack of information,
I'm telling you,
that has come from there. I'm going to read something for you from the Credit Unions Association.
Hey.
Yes.
Okay.
From October 25th.
Credit Unions Association.
Yes, from October 25th. Now, perhaps it's just information, but we can infer from it whether maybe the consultations have even started or not.
All right.
So this is from the CUA. Notice to all credit unions. It says that as members may be aware of the press release by the Ministry of Finance on 11th October 2022 on the subject Consultative Committee on Financial Sector Stakeholder Engagement. This committee will be leading stakeholder engagement on government debt management. So the Ghana Cooperative Credit Union Association requests for details of all credit unions with investments in Government of Ghana Treasury bills and bonds as of date. This is to provide the association with all the required information on the movement's portfolio to effectively engage with the consultative committee on the exposure of credit unions in the Government of Ghana securities. All CUs with investment in GOG securities are therefore to provide the following details. Type of investment, security ID, tenor, cost, that is the amount invested, face value, and then institution invested in. And then it provides the list, the form, blah, 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 signed by Cyprian K.A. Bassing, who is the general manager.
So that information will probably go into whatever position they will articulate to the committee.
Yes.
They'll say, if you do this, we are going to... And so this is a big discussion. They're having to meet pension funds. They're having to meet insurance companies. So the whole financial system is at stake here. Okay, the stability of our financial system is at stake here. So I understand that they cannot rush to just come and say something. So again, you can see why they will come and say, for now we can say there will be no haircut, but it may be premature. Okay, because your IMF negotiations.
Yeah, but we're in November.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm saying that they haven't finished their discussion. If they have finished the discussion,
They haven't even started some of them,
yes,
which is the concern.
yeah. I wonder why though. Why have they not finished? They should
Because
be,
if
they should be working overtime.
October 25, the credit unions are now collecting their own data to put it together.
And you know the funny thing, if
to
you
go and meet them.
and if you don't, you see, the thing is that if you are going, essentially IMF thing, you are going for a loan. If you are going for a loan from IMF, they will not give you a loan if you can't show ability to pay. Now, if they do your debt sustainability analysis and they realize that your debt position is unsustainable, you won't get the money. So all that we are doing is to prove that. So IMF doesn't put a gun to your neck and say do this.
Yeah.
They don't tell you what to do, but you know what to do. Because if you say you need 3 billion, Egypt needed 3 billion. Do you know what they told Egypt to do?
Oh, they've changed a lot of things there.
Egypt had
They
to
had
devalue
their currency.
No, Egypt had to move away from a fixed to a floating exchange rate regime. So the currency had a free fall. As I will not say IMF said do it, but there are some things that if you don't do, you get the money. So for us, our question is our debt. If your debt is unsustainable, don't give you money. Now, how do you prove debt is sustainable? You do a debt sustainability analysis and then you decide whether to restructure domestic or foreign. The same IMF doesn't encourage you to restructure your foreign debt, which is why a lot of people have problems with them. It's like, why do you want to protect these loan sharks and then you want to harm? Because our government policy, if you look at the numbers that Theo Champon published, Nathan, a lot of government, domestic debt is 59% of our GDP. External debt is 31%. So 60 is on 59.
So
60.
Yeah, that's a 60 to 40.
Yes. Domestic debt, Ghana's gross external public debt, gross nominal public debt in billions of dollars, right? 2017 jumped from 17 billion to 28 billion external. Domestic jumped from 15 to 30. So in 2017, our domestic debt was lower than our foreign. By 2021, our domestic has overtaken. Why? Government is borrowing from Bank of Ghana. Government is borrowing from commercial banks. Government is borrowing from Senate pension funds.
Everywhere.
Everybody. So, the local debt,
Some way.
we are all in trouble.